Okay. Hello, everybody. Um, Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for your interest in I guess it's my work. I mean, you know, my work is so blended with the rest of my life, and that I cannot tell you. You know, uh, and let me share the screen with you and show you my design because I'm actually very happy that I see so many names that I can't identify. So, which is always good when you're offering basic human design, which is almost, the entire program that I'm offering now is pretty much the general training. Um, that there's actually new people, okay, not people who has already done the general training with me, because then again, we can have fun sharing, but in the end, this is my job, and this is about, turning some people on to actually commit, engage, and commit to enter with me into this process of loving yourself. I mean, loving yourself and loving yourself in the understanding that that is just something that's never going to happen unless you respect your nature. And the human design system, it offers us a map as to clearly identify what is your nature. Okay. And, well, in this context, you can see that I'm really not someone who is designed to work, you know? So, yeah, which does not mean that I'm not open to enjoy doing all kinds of things, including things that can be productive. I remember the times when I was working in a restaurant, okay, and I loved the people working in the restaurant so much and being with them that I would end up my shift and I would stay with the next shift, just sitting there, and smoking, basically rolling joints for everybody. I was in my early 20s. Okay. And these people, they were my family. That restaurant was my home. You know, I had some love stories with the members of that. Is in a way, I'm a manifester. So it's all just about my life. So my work and my pleasure, it's all mixed with the pleasure of being me, you know? And there is very few variations of me that I enjoy as much or more than sharing my understanding with others. It is just something you can see. I have two definitions in the awareness centers of the understanding circuit, and that my personality sun is actually in the sacral. In a gate of fixing the pattern. And it's about fixing the pattern of shared understanding. And of course, this is where my personality sun finds fulfillment, you know? Because when I share my understanding based on human design, wow, wow, it's so deep. It's so deep because there's almost nothing there that is personal other than the experiences that I made that back up that understanding that is not personal, that is not personal, that is just a mechanical absolute. There are things, they work the same way for everybody. I mean, just about everything that is human, mechanically, works the same way for everyone. And until we learn to manage what makes us human in the way that is natural for us, then our highest potential, which is awareness, well, I guess can never flower. You know, I mean, we're designed for awareness, so we're going to be aware no matter what. But, you know, awareness can be just distorted consciousness. In other words, that what you perceive to be you isn't really you. You know, you may just be identifying with a certain symptom, you know, but the source of that symptom is not inside of you. In other words, if it wasn't for the outside world, you wouldn't get to experience yourself in this way, which means that that aspect of you may be just merely circumstantial, something that is conditioned in you, not something that is inherent to you, and therefore free, free. Something that is there in you despite circumstances. You know, it's not there in some circumstances and not in others. Excuse me. Also, once in a while, I have to see here people keep coming in, so I have to open the door for them. And, you know, in my 31 years of dedication to this knowledge, it is so clear to me, you know, about what is absolutely me, you know, what is absolutely me, because it is something that I am no matter when, no matter where, and no matter who is with me. I am those things, even if I'm alone. You see, I have the channel of struggle. So, you know, if anybody is next to me in the aura, I'm going to struggle with them, you know, for good, for bad. I'm going to struggle with them. Now, the funny thing is that when nobody is in my aura, you know, what do you think I'm doing? I'm struggling. In my mind, I'm still struggling. You know, I'm struggling with the feeling that the last person that was in my aura left behind. You know, I'm saying things that I didn't say when they were there. I'm hearing the echo of things I said, you know, when they were there, that when I was saying it, I wasn't very aware of the tone in which I was saying it. In other words, you know, there is the echo of struggle, you know, that occupies my mind, you know. So I have a mind that is designed to make sense out of discordia in relationships. So whenever I'm alone, there's my mind looking at the struggle that provoked discordia in my relationships and make sense out of it. Just on automatic pilot. My unconscious does it. See, my personality doesn't have anything to do with it. You know, my personality is just there, a social personality that when it finishes its business, you know, is alone, looks inside, and what is there is this tension with stuff that has happened and speculation about what can happen in the future as a consequence of what happened in the past. And it's all just me breathing into an ocean of possibility. You know, in other words, it's all happening in my imagination, but it's still related to struggle with conclusive understanding or not, with making a clear sense out of experience or not. You know, this is a climate that my brain creates. And when my personality is alone, what do you think is there in the back of my mind? You know, when I evaluate how much I am one with others, with those that I feel to be part of the same whole as me. There isn't a single human being that I feel to be part of the same whole as me that I did not struggle heavily with. You know, it just doesn't happen. I mean, that's how I know that you're my friend, because I struggled with you. You know, That's how I know that you're my friend, because I struggled with you and you love me anyway. Because I didn't struggle against you. I don't struggle against anyone. So you see, these things, these are just things that now I know to be my absolute. This is my form. This is how I filter the illusion of being. I'm designed for being Alok. I'm designed to be the only version of Alok. And I've learned to define Alok without any need to compare Alok to anybody. I don't need to define Alok as better than anybody. I don't need to define Alok as worse than anybody. I can describe Alok just as he is, for good, for bad, you know? And I'm not hiding anything because I'm not comparing myself to anyone. And I'm not trying to underline any specific characteristic about me by not comparing myself to anyone. I'm just me. And at the same time, that makes me as human as everybody else. Now, in such a complex designer's mind, to have such a clear and holistic perspective about yourself is almost a miracle. I guess that's why Ra said that, if human design can wake up Alok, it can wake up anybody. Really, really. And you see, human design woke me up right away, right away. But my joke is that waking up is easy. Staying awake, that's another story. Because in order to stay awake, you need to learn to master things that are very difficult to master. You have to learn to master the combination of need, desire, and indecisiveness. And not only do you need to master the ability to combine the force of desire, the way the forces of desire, the forces of need, and the forces of indecisiveness operate in you. You have to learn to do that under pressure. And the pressure is life, of course. That life doesn't stop for you to just have a thought about it. It just keeps moving. If you did not learn it when you were young, it's actually a challenge, because in order to master this combination of forces without creating further mess in your life, you need to re-educate your mind. You need to re-educate your mind. And when I say re-educate your mind, I don't mean feed it with knowledge. I don't. Like when you educate a child, knowledge doesn't work. Children are not responsive to just theory. You want to educate their behavior. And knowledge is not enough. You have to have a certain tone of voice. You have to have authority when you tell them certain things. The same way, you've got to show your mind who's the boss. You've got to show your mind that the real boss is back in town, and that it has a reliable source of authority that does not require its explanations, and that alternative source of authority can be many things. It can be taste. It can be intuition. It can be instinct. It can be sensitivity. It can be passion. It can be desire. It can be determination. It can be many things. But what they all have in common is They come out of the body. They don't come out of the mind. They don't express a reason. They express a sensation, a feeling, you know? A feeling that you may not know why the feeling is there, but you know that it is there. That's all you need to know. Honor it. Honor it. And see where it takes you. Because the one thing you can be certain about is that if you trust your feeling, it is going to take you into something different from what you know already. You know, it's going to take you beyond the known horizon of your awareness. In other words, nothing can take you easier beyond, out of stagnation than following a new feeling. You know, it can be taste. You know, that you like something and your mind thinks that's dangerous. You know, you shouldn't like that, but you do. And what to do? You know, so trust what you like, no matter what you think. If you like it, it's healthy for you, even if everyone says it's poison. Now, if you don't like it, it's not healthy for you, even if everybody says it's super healthy. Now, that's inner authority. When you don't care what other people think, because you know what is correct for you. And it's not a make-up reason, and it's not a belief. It's a sensation in the body. It's your own nature telling you. And 97% of human beings, 98% of human beings, they have some source of inner authority in their design. So, you know, what I offer on my website platform is, you know, is pretty much what other teachers offer. The Living Your Design, the Rave ABC, the Rave Cartography, and as a theoretical foundation, because those three courses comprehend what is called the general training. Okay. You know, when you want to misunderstand something, it's so easy. It's even easy to misunderstand it when you don't want to misunderstand it. But only too often, the fact that it's called the general training and that it is a necessary step in order to go any deeper into human design, and you have to become a professional analyst, that it ended up being seen as, well, you know, the basic courses, kind of like the beginner's courses that you need to start like the real thing, you know? And then everybody's in a hurry to stuff those three courses into their heads so that they can sign up to some real study, you know? And then they come to be trained as professionals to someone like me, and they can bring someone as devoted and passionate about human design to a point where I almost want to give up teaching this stuff, you know, because of the frustration of having to train as professionals, people who are far from being ready, not from being a professional, from living their own design. Excuse me, I got to open the door for someone because I'm in their home and they can't get in. And of course, if you don't live your own design, you have not been through the experience of experiencing the mess in your mind when you're trying to combine and to balance out the forces of need with the forces of desire. You know, the desire to expand, the need to preserve, just those two things. And then add a little bit of indecisiveness to that mix, and you get an idea of what the average human mind looks like. Always unsure if they really need what they need, always unsure if they really desire what they desire, and in the end, just throwing a coin, because that's really how the not self makes decisions. When you make decisions based on your mind, you're basically throwing a coin, you know, because it's a choice made on assumptions. Assumptions. So in seeing this, I went into almost a process of crisis where I realized if I don't change something in my approach of how I share the knowledge with others, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to end up not wanting to do it. So I stopped. I stopped offering professional trainings, and instead, I decided to focus myself on the aspects of the knowledge where I can make it clear to anyone with just a few minutes that we're talking about something that is absolute, not relative. And that we're talking about something that, if you do not live it out correctly, it can only lead to an absolute distortion, an absolutely predictable distortion. You're a generator, you don't operate in response, you're gonna be frustrated. No choice. You're a manifester, you're not informing before you act, you're gonna have a lot of anger in your life. You're a projector, you don't wait to be invited, you're gonna end up bitter and resented. It's a formula, you know? It's like 2 and 2 is 4. I guess it's even more absolute than 2 and 2 is 4, because there may be some mathematical way to come to a place where 2 and 2 is 5. But if you're a projector, you're a projector, you're a projector, you know? And there is no way that you're not a projector. There's many ways to deceive yourself to be something that you're not. But what you are, that's what's going to remain throughout time. And if things don't get better, they can only get worse. So, human beings are very good in covering up their misery. So projectors are good in covering up their bitterness, not only from others, but from themselves, until it bites into the flesh, until it's so deep in the body that it's undeniable, it's on your face. You got this bitter expression on your face, in your aura, everything in you distills bitterness or frustration or anger. Got plenty of those around, had them around since I came into the world. Now I know it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just, I knew that as a child already. I knew, because it wasn't like I was an angel. And when I wasn't an angel and acted like a little devil, I also didn't know why I do it. I just did it. I was helplessly driven to do what I did, everything. And see, if I was helplessly driven, well, maybe others were helplessly driven too. Obviously, when I saw my mother yell out, she was driven by some kind of devils. And when I saw my father react, just, the devils just changed place. But it was like everyone is driven by something inside of them that they all wished wasn't there. But it is. And it made them both blindly reactive to each other. And well, I was just there watching that movie because there was no other movie to watch. That was reality. So for me, the living your design, actually, if you look into the website, you will see that I offer a version that's called the Living Your Design XXL. Okay, and that XXL is something I added on. It must be some 7 years ago, when I guess it's when it really started feeling the tiredness of, teaching this stuff to so many people and so few of them actually living it, you know? And so many human design experts online, just blah, 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 and you know by the way they talk that they're not in touch with the absolute. They're not, because the moment you come in touch with your own absolute, you have something to say of your own. You stop repeating what your teacher told you. You start saying something that goes beyond the conceptual, you know? And it's like, it never happens. I just keep seeing these raw posts, or even my stuff, people posting my stuff, or someone else's stuff. It's so rare to find someone that posts something that expresses something about them. And I know why. People have no idea about who they are. Best case scenario, they know their shit. They know they're frustrated. They know what frustrates them. They know what makes them angry, and they think they know themselves. They know what frustrates them, and they think they know themselves. The truth is they never met themselves satisfied. And a generator who does not know what is satisfying cannot know themselves. And a manifester that knows no peace cannot know himself. And a projector that knows no success, that has no sense of nine-centered success, a sense of success that transcends all measurements, all measurements. I guess Ra used the word success because he defined the language that the not self can understand. But probably a more accurate word for a fulfilled projector would be bliss. Bliss. When all you do is watch what's happening and you're blissed out. Like when you're watching an entertaining movie, you don't need anything else. All your attention is there, and it nurtures you, just seeing what's there, just processing it. Life. Wow. Now, again, peace, satisfaction, success, they're not easy. They're not easy to install in our daily lives. They're not. It's a challenge. This is the miracle of human design, that it makes it accessible for anyone, and you don't have to become a human design expert, and you don't have to become a human design professional. Now, it's true that living your design is just the beginning. Particularly the way it was taught forever, the 9 centers and the 4 types. Intellectually, it's more than enough, because those 4 types, with their mental dilemmas, wow, they are like 4 shamanic pills. A generator that takes the challenge to beat their own mind on its own ground with reasons, with logic, by just focusing their attention on who am I for myself if I am not what I'm thinking, if I am what I do. And until I see myself do something in response, I cannot accept any definition of who I'm supposed to be. I am what I do when I do it without planning, out of response. Now, that's a challenge to the rational mind. You do that every day with your mind, hell are you going to be transformed? Are you going to experience a change in perspective? But if you don't do it, then it's never going to happen. Now, I understand people who don't do it, because to go to live against one's own mental habits, that's very uphill for the human spirit, especially for the spirit of grown-ups, which has already found accommodation, whether it's accommodation in misery or accommodation in a certain level of comfort. You know, the not self lives in the comfort zone. You know, to question your own thinking, that's stepping out of the comfort zone. That's not normal. You know, the normal is you follow your thinking. That's the not self. To question and challenge your own thinking, that's taking all responsibility on you, because you step out of normality. And of course, out of normality, there's just you with you, you know, and there are no assumptions. And so I understand why people find human design very interesting, but, you know, not easy to actually apply every day, take it into every nook and corner of your own existence. You know, I know. And yet I thought, so many people, why? And I thought, you know, I mean, I had the kind of life, you know, I went to India very young. It was clear to me that my deepest interest in life was not tied up with the mundane. In other words, accumulating money, power, prestige, becoming important in the life of others didn't seem to be my major drive. You know, somehow finding answers to my own questions, you know, and my questions, they weren't very practical. You know, they weren't focused on everyday stuff. You know, to be honest, I wasn't even very clear about what it is that I want to know. I mean, now I know now, you know, if you have the channel of struggle, you're prone to want to know everything, everything, you know? Then again, if you approach that with your mind, okay, then you end up thinking that you're supposed to know everything. You know, I mean, everything. There was a time in my life where I would just want to read one book after the other, you know, thinking that the more books I read, until there was a moment when it was clear to me that that wasn't possible. That, you know, I wanted to know everything, but I wanted to know everything that matters, that mattered to me. And I realized that in order to focus on what matters to me, I didn't need any books. My own mind was the book. My own mind was the book. My own mind was talking to me, you know? And instead of being busy trying to tell other people what's going through my mind, I just started listening to it, containing it, letting it be there and not boss me around. You know, letting it be there, telling me this matters and that matters and that matters and that matters, and trusting my emotional authority to wait and see if what matters today, what seems to matter today, still matters tomorrow. Because considering my channel of transitoriness, oh, there's very few things in life that stand the test of time with me. You know, I'm Mr. Change, which means that anything that matters the most, one moment, is totally forgotten. The next. And the jack of all trades is just ready for the next jump, you know? Just leaving, consuming life without knowing when enough is enough. Insatiable. See, there is so many nuances and variations of me that even I don't know, you know? So what I did is, considering that most human beings didn't have such an unorthodox life as me, and they're not as used as me to have their attention focused on observing themselves. You see, I'm a 1-3, I'm naturally introspect. Even when my eyes are open and looking outside, my attention is inside. My attention is inside. It's on what do I feel in reaction to what I'm seeing. That's where my attention is. You know, that I thought, well, maybe they don't know because, you don't just go from not living your design to live your design because someone tells you what your type is and what your strategy is. Because your mind, your not self mind, is full of habits, just habits. And those habits are there. You don't counterbalance those habits so easily. So there is many moments in the day where you forget that you're a generator. You forget that you are designed to wait to respond, and you do what you always did because that's your habit. So it takes time until you learn to bring yourself back from those habits. It's only normal. It's only natural. Okay. Then again, I figured maybe people don't know how much it matters to follow your strategy and authority at all times, but particularly every time you interact with another human being, you know? Because if you do not interact with another human being correctly, then there is a handicap in the level of satisfaction, peace, or success that interaction can bring you. I mean, any interaction, but very particularly sexual interaction, in the sense that, if you can't be natural when you're having sex, you're never going to be natural anywhere. Do you know what I mean? If you can't be yourself when you're having sex, and you cannot be yourself, you just cannot. Energetically, you don't even know how that feels. To be yourself fearlessly, to express yourself without any barriers. So I thought, okay, let me do an extended living your design. Okay. And so instead of doing a 2-day course, I transformed it into a 4-day course when I teach it live. When I teach it live, it's 4 90-minute sessions per day. And in the 3rd day, what I added is, basic introduction about human connectivity, which is, what happens when 2 different designs meet. What is predictably going to happen based on the way that those 2 designs connect the way they do, in the channels that they do, and in the particular way in which they do that. And then beyond this general connectivity, I did another day, day 4, where I introduced specifically the mechanics of human sexuality, because you see, what hooks us about sex and what makes sex such an important ingredient in our life is not sex itself. If sex was all there is to sex, we would have the same attitude towards it that dogs have. I mean, if you can't avoid it, it's like, okay, you do it, but you're happy that, it's like, it's a hustle. I mean, you see dogs, when they're in their heat, that their life becomes a bit of a hustle, and when it's over, everything goes back to normal and it's like, all okay. Now, what makes human beings obsess about sex all year round is not sex. It's the emotions that sex triggers. Now, guess why? Being 50% of human beings being emotionally defined, guess why? This is automatically their inner authority. You know what I mean? Because in a way, they're the ones that are designed to be as passionate about being themselves in public as they are being in private, you know, shamelessly themselves. Now, again, in the spirit, the same being in the spirit, in the form, no. In the form, private is private, public is public. But in the spirit, same being, just slightly different protocol. Because it's different to emotionally interact with one person or with an audience. Because the moment there is more than one person, there is an audience. There is a we that's listening to you, not just a you. And the first time I did this course, I did it live. And of course, it did have more impact than the regular living your design. But where I really discovered the incredible transformational potential of this was when I started teaching it online in this way. And instead of teaching it over and over again, the 9 centers, just basically instead of putting my time into that, just let the students access the recorded materials on good quality videos where everything is transcribed and edited in PDFs. They're perfectly illustrated. Okay, so there is like top quality materials that contain all the theoretical information. And instead of wasting my time repeating what is already there, just use that time to help those who are trying to assimilate that information, to integrate it into their own daily experience. Okay, in other words, what does living your design mean for them, no matter what they ask? Okay, so basically the process is thought in a way that the participant takes in some information, we meet, you ask any questions you have about the way that information applies to you. I answer your questions with your design on the screen, so you can actually see I'm just following logic. I'm not having X-ray in my eyes or anything, but my understanding of that logic is actually very deep. I know the implications of having this channel or that channel. Channels for me are not just a name. I know that a whole life can be lived out of a single channel, any single channel. So, well, everyone that works professionally with this should know that. There's only 36 channels for 8,000 million humans, So you can't just generalize about any of them and hit the target, touch the human, because it's about uniqueness. So, you cannot see the human in a channel. You cannot see the human in a gate. You cannot see the human in the center. You have to see the whole being. And then the centers, the channels, the gates, well, they're just nuances of a unique variation of somebody that is as human as you. And whose humanity is made of the same ingredients as yours, combined in a different way. But it's the same structure. It's the same functions. There's nothing alien, nothing human that needs to be alien to any of us. We all know racism. We all know machismo. It's not like only men are machista, have machismo. Women have machismo too. In my case, if machismo is to be abusive, I couldn't say that my father was more abusive than my mother was. You know what I mean? So, let's say that we have a female version of machismo and we have a male version of machismo. After all, see, feminism in a way is just a very old war, the war of genders. We're human. We're human beyond gender. Awareness is beyond gender. Communication. See, gender differences should be no obstacle for whole and effective and honest and straightforward communication. We just never knew how to speak for ourselves and not represent ourselves like the regular guy, the regular girl, a type, with certain attitudes. No, 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 no attitude. See, every attitude is a not self attitude. The only true self attitude is surrender. Surrender. Surrender to yourself, surrender to life. The path of no resistance. So when I teach the rave ABC and the rave cartography, I do exactly the same. Okay, even though I can tell that the students that go there, they already bring a different attitude than those that come to the Living Your Design, because it's like, okay, now let's get into some real human design. And it's silly to think this way. It really is silly. Because see, the rave ABC is just there to help you deconstruct and understand why following your strategy and authority is not only the logical thing to do given your nature. It is not only logical, it is biological. It is natural because of the way you are designed to participate from sharing understanding with others. Because of the way you are specifically designed to perceive need. You see, there's only one place where I can perceive need consistently, and this is in the channel of community. Nowhere else in my design can I experience need consistently. Okay, then again, there is a place here where I experience indecisiveness all the time, struggle, indecisiveness. And there is 4 different places where I'm consistently experiencing desire, desire, desire. Now again, desire only defines me correctly when my needs are integrated and respected, and my indecisiveness is not a problem. Actually, my indecisiveness is what tells me to wait, 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 come down. It'll come. Don't be in a hurry. Enjoy this time before people start coming in. Feel into it. Prepare yourself. Because once you start talking, there's no time for thinking. It's time to perform. It's just time to be. Okay? And no indecisiveness can be there then. No. See, I'm just slowing down for you what is an ongoing inner process in me, which is how I keep balance to be this thinking first line in gate 5 that is there in the flow, sharing my understanding in the flow with others. And this is who I am. That's all I do all day. Whether I'm working or whether I'm not working, because you see, my real work is being an investigator martyr of consciousness. That's my being. That's what I do. you know? That's what I do here as a teacher. But that's what I keep doing when I hang the role of the teacher on the chair and I go to the kitchen, and I start preparing dinner with my partner. I'm still investigating consciousness because that's my essence. That's who I am at the deepest level of being. So the RAFE ABC is basically a roadmap. It is not just what allows you, the living your design allows you to see the body graph as a energetic cognitive structure. Okay. But the RAFE ABC, hell, it turns this thing into a map where you can explore both the mental labyrinths of your not self mind and the way it has always distorted your perception, as much as the true life force that consistently sustains your desires, your need, your indecisiveness. You can see exactly where it is in the body graph. You can give it exactly the value that it has within the mechanical hierarchy that is inherent to this body graph, to the structure. You understand? And you can see, because you're talking about something that is consistent, that always operates like this. If that's not the way, your desire, your needs, your indecisiveness converge, you're going to notice. You're going to notice. But if they do, oh, you're going to notice that too. How suddenly your desires do not necessarily interfere with your needs or vice versa. That through patience, there is a way, there might be a way where you can actually live out both and not have to deny the other at any time. Now, that's what brings a sense of balance that is new because it does not depend on your thinking. It's in your form, it's in your senses, it's in your inner alignment with yourself. And the method is the same. I expect participants to ask me questions about, certain channels that they maybe don't understand or that they have a problem with, whether it's because they have it or someone in their life has it, or, I always answer the questions in a way that it is not just theoretical, but in a way that, the way you ask the question that you ask, I look at your design and I know where you're coming from. I know I can sense you're not self behind the question, if you know what I mean. So I can answer the question in a way that it answers the question, but it also makes you aware of how your not self mind gets in the way of your own clarity. And the same I do in the rave cartography. The rave cartography is basically where you are given a certain bunch of tools that allows you to put the soup of data that you learned in the rave ABC back together as a synthesis. So you don't get lost, in the magma of all these new names and keynotes and channels and gates, and you have a way to kind of look at what matters, okay, which provides you with keynotes that allow you to define the basic skeleton of somebody's being, the light and the shadow of somebody's being, with what is called the four views. Now, again, in order to be able to look through those views, there is other elements that need to be integrated, like there's the 12 profiles. Okay, profile is a very, very important keynote. Basically, it should come immediately after type. If you know your type and your profile, you're fit to go. In a way, you're fit to go and already recognize if you are experimenting with the knowledge correctly or not. Because if type is a mechanical absolute, profile is your cognitive absolute. That is a specific way in which we're designed to perceive a cognitive framework. We learn about the different kinds of inner authority that I described earlier, like taste, intuition, instinct, sensitivity, depending on the center and the particular stream that runs through the center. The next thing we learn is the type of definition, that you can have all kinds of variations of design, and all of them be classified as single definition because all defined channels are linked together without interruption. So, it allows all imprinted characteristics to work as one thing. Okay. And of course, this brings an inherent drive to simplify everything, for good, for bad, in the sense that there's also a predisposition to oversimplify when you don't know what to do with the leftovers, In other words, it's just a predisposition, okay, to be also independent, okay? Then again, independence can be something that protects you. Independence can be something that isolates you. Do you know what I mean? So the same with simplicity. It's just a predisposition for a certain kind of mentality. Because you see, what Ra calls the not self mind, you could also call mentality. And the mentality is basically a frozen mind. A mind that holds on to a frozen sense of reality. And of course, the mentality is a mind that does not know how to let go. It's a mind that does not know how to flow. The mind is supposed to be liquid, liquid reality, Pink Floyd. I think 35% of human beings have a single definition in their design. And there is another 35 or even more that have a double split definition in their design. In other words, two areas of definition that are not linked together. I had prepared a whole presentation for you. Wait. English. Yeah. But I decided to just keep it there with this one image of my design because, yeah, I didn't want to make this too long. So here you have this example of what I was saying, the single definitions. Okay, you can see that you can have just one channel and two centers and you're a single definition, or you can have 6 centers defined and be a single definition. Okay, you can even have, I guess you can have 9 centers defined and be a single definition. Even though it is exceptional to find someone with 9 centers defined, I think there's only 1% of people like that. Or you can be a split definition. 2 areas of definition like you see here, one in the mental centers and another 3 here, where the 2 different definitions do not have a connection to each other. Now, this is a predisposition to develop a very different kind of mentality. These are people that have a hard time in simplifying, because there's always, some argument coming from the other side that does not fit in with the way the other side wants to close the bag. In other words, that this is a mind that is designed to make sense out of things. So when the mind thinks, okay, now it's perfectly clear, this side says, and what about this then? you know? So there's always something coming from here that doesn't make perfectly sense, you know? And this channel is the channel of the perfected form. So if the sense is not perfect, why should we accept it? So, you know, this is someone that is conflicting with themselves. Now, again, see, if you turn your inner contradictions into a problem, well, you end up being a problematic human being, you know? So there is another predisposition here, you know, very different than that of the single definition. And then you can have people like me, whose design is split in three parts. Okay. So this is about being chaotic. I mean, not just contradictory, but actually chaotic. Okay. And of course, it's not something that you can fix. It's not like it's bad, you know, like being a double split isn't bad. You see, if this person lives out of their intuition, then being a split definition not only is not a problem, it's a gift. It's a gift that they have. And if this person, you know, makes decisions respecting their spleen, see, if they listen to their spleen, they will be operating in response. You know, they will be responding in the now. But if they listen to their mind, oh, they will be making choices to struggle for what doesn't matter, you know? And they will avoid confrontation and truth. Very simple. That will be the contradiction, you know, that they have a sense that they should struggle, but but they avoid confrontation and truth because they're afraid of how much disharmony can be set free within the group if they actually struggle. So they put the common good above their own individual satisfaction. And over time, they keep paying the price of anger and frustration. In other words, they become codependent. Okay. The triple split is not codependent. You know, it isn't looking for a bridge because there is many different ways, too many different ways in which a triple split definition can be bridged. You know, so they're very dynamic. You know, they're very resourceful people. But then again, the resources that they have, they're very disintegrated. And without, you know, if the authority is not like in my case, you know, when I was not aware that my emotions have the final say and that the final say cannot be now, cannot be now. Okay. I was basically just making choices under pressure, driven by a feeling that would never last very long. That would never last very long. So it wouldn't take very long until I would start asking, you know, what if I didn't do what I did? You know, what if I would have done something different? But basically just stuck, wasting, you know, living my life stuck in my shadow. Okay. And yeah, feeling a lot of sorry, whether that sorry was shared with others or not. But it's just so, you know, desire that is doomed to be disappointed. Because it's, you know, everybody that has 36, 35 is doomed to be disappointed because the disappointment of desire is the only thing that can take desire to maturation. I mean, I know because that's been exactly my process. And it doesn't all go at once. It's a cyclical process. So yeah, you know, once you have once you know these things, then it's very easy to look at anybody's life force and see, you know, where and how does desire fix them? Where and how does need fix them? Where and how does indecisiveness fix them? Who's the boss of all of them? You know? What type are they? And what channel exactly makes them of that type? You see, this is an emotional generator. So there's only one place that actually defines them as an emotional generator, the 59.6, which means that until they live out their 59.6ness correctly, they're not going to use their power correctly. They're not going to discover succeeding where others fail. They're going to fail in the same shit as everybody else. You know? As a matter of fact, they're going to fail deeper than anybody else because they're going to have much deeper expectations not to do so, which means they're going to be much more frustrated than anybody else because they were trying to be an exception. And they were trying to be an exception by being a smarter, not self-manifester than anybody else. And you see, until they give themselves a chance to operate in response, to wait for emotional clarity, everything they transformed created resistance in a lot of people. The way they use their power frustrates and brings out resistance in a lot of people. And a lot of people. And in order to be able to achieve their goals, you would have to harmonize with a lot of people that he can't even stand. You know? But where means goals justify the means. You know? Make a little sacrifice, and then when you get there, get the reward. Now that's the not self of this person. And I know how predictable it all is going to be if this person does not operate correctly as a 59.6. Because that's the root of what defines this being over time. Everything else is secondary to that. I know, because it's the same for me. You see, I'm a 36, 35 manifester, and until I did not learn to master that aspect of my life force, the other 5 channels that I had, they were contaminated by my lack of emotional clarity. Now, only one of these 6 centers carries, the potential to be the yes-no mechanism. They cannot trust the spontaneous decision. They cannot trust their spontaneous perception to define who am I for myself. They cannot. They cannot. Most that they can use this intuition for is to recognize the spontaneous reaction that they have towards somebody that's on the outside. In other words, their intuition tells them a lot of stuff about others and how others may or could condition who they are for themselves. But it is the emotional clarity that waits over time, takes notice of what the intuition says, but makes no irreversible decision because of that. Because the final decision cannot be an expression of who somebody else is for me. It's who am I for myself, with you or without you, with you or without you. Then we're talking. Then I position myself in a way that it is absolutely clear to you how, under what conditions I could be available, and you're still free to do whatever is correct for you. I hope that you're as clear as I am, that if you do it for yourself. With me, but for yourself, not for me. Because that would be a favor. Now we need to see, are you asking me a favor or are you asking me to collaborate? Because based on it being one or the other, the nuances of the conditions change. What it never changes is that for this person, need comes before desire. And that in order to have clarity about need over time, it involves indecisiveness, which means it involves moments of thinking it's one thing, and then moments of thinking it's the opposite. You know, you see the positive things, and your intuition says, go for it. And then you see the difficult, challenging things, and your intuition says, nah, better no. But your emotional intelligence is beyond, you see, because it knows it's not about how easy or how difficult it is. It is about how necessary it is. Because if it is necessary, it doesn't matter how difficult it is. And if it isn't necessary, then it doesn't matter how easy it is. So, you know, from where do you measure? But you yourself identify as something that matters to you. And then you have profile. And profile is quite something. I mean, I add the cross of life, you know, it's just, I point at it there. I don't turn this into a incarnation cross course, but you know, it's so logical that yeah, I point at it because that's what's left when once the deconditioning process is completed, and you no longer have to mentally struggle to combine desire, need, and indecisiveness in your daily experience. What's left is your individual purpose, your cross, you know, the theme that permeates everything in your design, defined or not. You know, when the open centers are no longer a trap for you. You know, when your inner authority has learned to master all other aspects of your life force, to integrate them, to respect them, to honor them for what they are. You know, just like you listen to a good advisor, it does not mean you let the advisor make the decision for you. This person listens to their intuition, but it doesn't let the intuition to make the decision. Because what the intuition perceives is not deep enough to define who am I for myself if you happen to be an emotional person. All right. So, and of course, again, I will, you know, all of this is pre-recorded in good quality videos. And there is question and answer sessions with me to actually, you know, the same, see how this all applies to you. Because until you see how it applies to you, you cannot even conceive it could be something absolute for anyone else. You know, if you cannot feel the absolute in you, how could you even imagine anything up to know anything that is could be absolute about anyone else? Finally, I'm doing again, or I'm offering again, the Penta pathway. And I will be introducing for the first time the Wa pathway. And of course, you know, what I referred to earlier, you know, anything, communicating with anything more than one person, it's like talking to an audience. You know, there is a third person, and that third person represents the rest of humanity in a way. You know, they can always tell others. In other words, what the third person hears is what can become public. You know, so there is risk. Obviously, the penta is the transauric entity that regulates the interaction between humans in groups small smaller than 6, 3 to 5 people. And of course, in this kind of environment is where we develop and express ourselves in personal relationships, you know, family. We learn those roles and rules in the family and we take them with us everywhere we go. Everywhere we want to display, to express ourselves in a way that we want to invite a certain level of familiarity with others, formal familiarity, we display a similar behavior to the behavior that we had when we were children at home. In families where you're supposed to be nice to everybody, right? Act like a civilized human being. And that's what we do. We all do that. It's amazing to watch, what happens to people that individually when you see them interact in groups. Everybody's a lot more civilized in public than in private. It's just part of the group dynamics. And in the last semester that I did, it ended in May or April. I've taken a break, a long break. Didn't teach any online courses since then. Well, the recordings are now available. And so it's being offered to those who want to go through that process. And what will be new again is, the questions and answers. In other words, that this is not a BG5 training. This is not a training on penta analysis. This is about developing the awareness of how the penta construct conditioned you when you were a child for life. For life. It's why, family constellations work. Because whatever happened to us in those first 7 years, it's ingrained in us. Okay? And it's something we tend to reproduce, particularly those who carry definition in any of the 6 channels that make up the penta. They're the ones that are more prone to reproduce the domestic environment that they had when they were children in their own daily life. Because of the way that their penta mentality, their group mentality shapes their behavior and the way they project their self in interaction with others. Quite something to watch. Now, the wa is about group dynamics in groups larger than 9 or more people. In other words, when we think about a crowd, we're talking wa. Basically, you see, where the penta is all about what's personal between you and the other members of the group, the wa is anonymous. Where the penta is about rules, personal rules, the wa is about laws. Laws. So the laws, they're not personal. Okay? And you can see that if you look at the penta and the wa in its structure, well, they're very different from each other. Similar too. I mean, as a matter of fact, you can see that the only thing that they have that is similar is the one thing that repeats in both, the channel 214. Okay? And that alone should tell you how special that channel is within human nature. Special in the sense that it obviously has a deep responsibility in the life of the human individual, but you can see that it carries a much deeper responsibility in the role that it plays in this small group, and then an even larger responsibility in the role that it can play as an aspect of the large group. So this is a really multi-dimensional channel, you know, and the people who carry this force, well, I guess must be weird. You know, it must be weird to have so little concern for others when others are not there. And then when others are there, to totally forget yourself because of others. You know, it's almost like forgetting yourself is what allows you to project yourself through others and benefit anyone that collaborates with you. And you don't even know how you do it and why you do it. You know, you just feel ready to help anyone, like you were born for that. And then you end up becoming so important for the members of the group that you end up having no time to come back to yourself and ask yourself, who am I? Who the hell am I doing all of this for? You know, because there is this predisposition of confusing, mixing up the I with the we, whether it's a small we or it's a large we, there's always some we, unless you're alone. Even in one-on-one relationships, these people easily lock the other person up in their sense of we and develop a sense of the relationship where the other has no other option than fitting in that idea that they have of that relationship, because that idea tends to be a perfect one, at least in the eyes of those who carry this definition. Now, you see, the WA channels, they're called organizational channels. And what they organize is, look, 4 out of the 6. They come out of the sacral. And we already said that the sacral is the source of life. So this is, if you ask yourself what WA channels organize, they organize life. They organize life for the group. Why do you think that 2 of those channels, they comprehend the 2 channels that make up the defense circuit? You know, that this is about preserving the species. Preserving the species. How? By getting them all to collaborate. Collaborate, support each other, create support mechanisms, create what we call the system. Capitalistic system, communistic system. You know, we always had those 2. What then later will become, you know, the political right and the political left. You know, the political progressism and the political conservatism. Spleen and solar plexus, basically. And see, these people, they have a gift. They have such a gift to think for everyone. But they don't. See, they actually consider it to be a virtue to never think of themselves, to think of the efficiency of the system that depends on what they're doing. You know? And now again, seducted by the efficiency of the system. I guess that's how you get sociopaths. You know, when you don't care about humans, you care about the efficiency of the system that you're creating. You know, you trust the system. And there is no perfect system. There's always people complaining about any system. So if you are convinced that your system is the best, you're not necessarily going to count how many people claim that there is a better system. You know? Because, see, if you are implementing your system, it is already replacing a worse system. And everybody that has their own system feels like their own system is better. Because that's the one they know. So every WA channel, you see, when you look at the hierarchies of the world and you ask yourself where they come from, there seems to have to be some evil creature somewhere that decided, you know, that the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. And you know, and it's not. And it's not. I mean, it is only logical that rich people have more concern for poor people than poor people have concern for rich people. And that poor people have for other poor people. Because after all, you know, but see, these differences in material richness, they're so confusing for us. They're so confusing for the not self. You know, that the rich people, the poor people, they have a hard time imagining that rich people could suffer as much as they do, maybe even more. Because you see, as a poor person, you can always blame your suffering on not having enough money. But if you're a rich person, then money is not something you can blame your misery on, you know, which makes it psychologically more challenging to find your spirit, you know? Anyway, see, independently from whether you're rich or you're poor, the world is organized hierarchically. And the Wa is the structure for that. You know, there is the inferior Wa, and this is the working class. And there is the superior Wa, and this is the elite. And of course, the elite always represent the spirit, the purity of the spirit. You know, and normal people, well, they represent muscle, workforce, you know, and that's how the human species evolves. Now, understand, it does not mean that rich people are happier than poor people. This has got nothing to do with happiness. Nothing, nothing, nothing. This is pure sociology. This has got nothing to do with any of us individually. This is what creates the human hive. You know, we all get out of bed every morning to go to that hive. You know, and our honey is called money. You know, you can't live without money on this plane. You know, there used to be Tarzan and, you know, a few like that, but that's gone. You know, you can't live outside the system and live well. You know, we need the group. But it is one thing to need certain aspects of the group than to be stuck in the group and live out your individual life with the group mentality. Because that's where human beings suffer more than necessary and indulge themselves in excusing and justifying their own misery, where they keep accusing and blaming others for theirs. So not self, so unfair, and more than anything, so dumb, just so dumb, you know, because blame and shame, it's not productive. It just produces further suffering. I know. I've been stuck in that game for long enough. That's why I know. So you see, when you know the Wa, you know exactly not just how a person that has open centers is going to be conditioned by outside forces, because you only need the living your design for that. But what you actually get to know when you know the Wa is the way the channels that are defined are going to be distorted, and kept looking for a homogenized sense of purpose, a homogenized sense of purpose. In other words, you know, that I know exactly, you know, anybody that has the channel of struggle and everybody that has the channel of emoting And anybody that has the channel of openness, and everybody that has the channel of the brainwave, they're all going to suffer for the same thing. That they're going to wake up every day in the morning wishing that the world has changed. And they're going to find that it didn't. You know? And then as they get older, they just get sadder, you know, and eventually depressed. Depressed because it is the sense that ever since you came to know the world, it never changed. Same old shit every day. Same old shit every day. And all any of these channels ever wanted is to see something new, a surprise, you know? A surprise. Not the same old shit. Something new. So that there is hope for humanity. See, there's other channels in the same circuit, the knowing circuit. They're very different. They don't think, they don't suffer because of the new. They don't care for the new. They're not interested in the new. They actually perceive the new as a threat. You know? These channels, they are focused on what they can do with what they know. They ignore what they don't know. They turn their back on what they don't know, they cannot know. And they try and do something with what they know. So they all fall for the trip of knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And they act this way. They speak this way. They think this way. The other ones here, you know, the innovation Wa channels, they don't care for what they know. Because what they know is old. This old bread, hard to chew on and not very tasty. What they don't know, that's what they're passionate about. That's what they're ready to struggle for, to get to know what they don't know, to get to do what they never did, to finally express what they never expressed. You see, they don't care for knowing. You know? You tell them something they already know, they don't hear you even. They don't hear you even. I mean, you tell them something you didn't know, and they go, oh, what? What? You know, you tell them something new, like, what? It's instantaneous. I mean, I know because I know exactly in which part of the knowing circuit my life force defines my knowing. So just like you saw me do this now on the surface with the knowing circuit, every other, you know, every Wa channel controls a series of channels that act as their power base, which means they will never challenge what the Wa channel says. You know, the 2750 is responsible to define what we need to understand. It becomes the Wa of logic. And then all the channels of the understanding circuit, instead of developing understanding driven by the desire to understand, they start using understanding, trying to come up with a solution that provides for our needs. Where understanding is no longer an end in itself, but where understanding is intentionally limited to what makes a material difference in our benefit. In other words, very limited understanding. And the same happens with all the other channels of all the other circuits, that they all developed psychologically under the constraints of their wa, because the wa establishes sociology, basic sociology. And it's only strategy and authority, really, that can take you beyond that spell. So because the wa, I mean, it's a course I've done several times now, different contexts. But I wasn't very satisfied with the quality of the recordings, that I decided to do this one more time, where I will, it is the only course where I will be doing the classes live and the question and answer sessions also live. Okay, like I did with the Penta in the previous semester, because it is my aim to have a set of courses that are specifically designed to help people use those keys to really transcend their not self. To use this knowledge as something that transforms the way you integrate those themes in your own daily life. This is not about becoming a profession. This is not about then going and telling other people about, no, even though obviously you learn a lot of things on the way. These courses are not certified. They don't certify you as a professional. I mean, you can have a certification for the general training, because when you move on, if you want to train as a professional analyst with someone, with another teacher, they will ask you if you did those courses and with whom. So if you have a certificate, you can actually present it and then nobody will object. But they are the general training, and you get a certification because those 3 courses are part of the official curriculum. Okay? The way I teach the Penta and the Wa is not the way they're officially taught. I mean, if you want to learn the BG5, the Penta through the BG5, I think you have to spend something like $6,000. And if you want to learn OC16, which is the only official course where the Wa is properly introduced, I think that costs somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000. Okay, so basically, I have found a way to use this information to make a difference in the individual awareness. You understand, BG5 and OC16, this is where people get trained to take advantage of group dynamics. Okay, what I teach here is not how to take advantage of it, it's how to protect yourself from it so it doesn't interfere with the development of your individual awareness. And then what I will also do in the Wa is that, because of whatever gifts are part of your imprinting, okay, understanding the Wa is also understanding what, where in the not self world, where in the material hierarchy of the world is someone like you welcomed in the marketplace. In other words, what gifts do you have, and what kind of a job, you could aim for based on your imprinting. I mean, it's not like I can tell someone, you should make shoes and you should become a cook or stuff like that. No, but there are keynotes. There are keynotes that when you integrate them in your perspective, I don't need to tell you the details. You know them better than me. Do you know what I mean? Because you just need to associate what's there in your perspective with the keynotes that you have received, to see immediately, how those keynotes concretize within your life as it is. Oh, well, You can tell I enjoy doing this. Tosio, I just did the same presentation for the Spanish group before you. And I already forgot. You see, I'm doing this like it's the first thing I did today. It's not. I could go on, obviously, but I also know that enough is enough. Yeah, I guess you all have a sense of not only what is being offered, but what the approach is going to be that I have. Now, I don't want to just go and leave you all with your thoughts. If any of you has any practical question in regard to the courses, okay, I want to sign up for a course and I don't know how, or, do you think this could be the right course for me? Or I already did that course and is there a discount? Which, by the way, there is a discount for repetitors, okay? So I have time. I have a few, 15 minutes to answer any of your questions if there were any. Okay, so the microphone is all yours now. You don't need to raise your hand, the first one that clicks on the mic and whose voice I hear. That's, and then if there's more, you can.
Good evening.
Hey, Natala.
Natalia. Hi, how are you?
Uh-huh.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. And yes, it's very apparent that you love what you do because you can talk about this forever, and that's passion right there. So thank you for sharing your passion with all of us today. It
My
is
pleasure.
It is very inspiring. So a couple of questions. I'm one of those individuals that was introduced to human design about 5, 6 years ago. I got all the books, including the latest one. So on my own, I've
What's
been
the latest
discovering.
one? What's the latest one?
I can show it to you with the color. The
Please
latest
do.
edition of the human design book.
Show me, show me.
I would literally have to step away. But before I do, the red with orange. Joseph, do you have it? Then pick it up and show it because that's my friend right there. We both signed up. Yes, right there. Joseph is like my assistant.
Okay, this is yeah, okay, okay, okay. The
So,
definitive. Okay.
so my question is the following. I'm a manifesting generator 3-5. So I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of manifesting power. I've been trying to find the right teacher to take me further on this path. I have been really, really diving into it on my own, bringing some friends in. We've been having conversations about human design for the past 3 to 5 years, but I've been looking for the right teacher. So when I suddenly see your post on Facebook about these courses, I got too excited. My question is for somebody that has been diving into it and researching everything and anything, but I haven't taken any courses, but I want to take my knowledge further to first and foremost understand myself to the maximum capacity. What would you say be the most appropriate course for me? Not just learning the profiles, the types to get, but what would you say the next logical step with you and your trainings?
Living your design XXL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to be it's a test to did you actually understand anything until now?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like is the foundation clear? Okay. Not just in what it means for you to be a manifesting generator and the dilemmas that brings, but anything you know about the centers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so? Or, do you have mixed concepts where, because any confusion you have about this, it's going to intoxicate everything else you add to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is derived from 9 centers, 4 types, everything, 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 everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's not rave ABC, which I thought would be the next step. You recommend more the
Have
Living
you
Excel.
done, have you done the Living Your Design course?
I have not done courses per se, just learning and investigating and training myself for 5 years. That's why
Yeah,
I said I needed
yeah,
the
yeah.
teacher, and now I find one.
Um, Start from the foundation. And like I said, my my living your design XXL is not just 9 centers and 4 types.
Hmm.
No, there is a compressed version of the PTL2 in there,
Hmm.
which is about composite designs. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, it's not a PTL2 course, but there is a synthesis of stuff that you only meet when you do the PTL2. Okay. And there is a synthesized course on the mechanics of sexuality, which I normally teach in 4 days and costs €600. So there's a lot of stuff there, but the way it's presented is in how it adds to living your design or not. Okay,
Hmm.
so it is an excellent foundation. And then you can put the Rave ABC on top of that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because the worst thing to do with human design is accumulate knowledge in your head and ignore, just chase the knowledge you don't have, ignore the knowledge you have.
Hmm.
And you see, it's so
Hmm.
much more important that you apply the
Oh,
basic
absolutely.
understanding you already have than adding more knowledge
Hmm.
if that foundation is not properly applied, you know?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the Living Excel is will help me reaffirm if what I already learned, if I'm applying it correctly in my life. Is that correct? Did I understand you correctly?
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Okay. And my second question, so I give somebody else a chance to ask, is when signing up or purchasing your courses, is it a lifetime access or a limited access?
Lifetime.
Oh, fantastic. And
Yeah.
there's live sessions in every course with you, like we're having right now?
No.
Ah, okay.
Basically, what you get is, by the way, I didn't mention that,
Mm-hmm.
but you get two versions of the same course. Okay, so you hear me speak about the same thing in different ways. So that the knowledge base is expanded because I never explain the same thing in the same way. It would be boring for me. And
Right.
so the way it comes out in one occasion is not the way it comes out in another occasion, though mechanically I'm saying the same. So there is a second version to each course that it's a bonus material. Um, there was, when I started working this way, I divided the pathways in six downloads and 6 question and answer sessions. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Not only is it a lot of work, I ended up feeling towards sessions 4, 5, and 6 that the questions started becoming intellectual, because I had already touched everyone in the places that it mattered about themselves. And so there wasn't really anything else to ask. There was just go and live it now. Okay. So the questions started becoming a little bit intellectual, okay, and it just made me work more than necessary. Plus the fact that I do this in several languages, it forces me to prioritize my time. I
Mhm.
mean, the question and answer sessions, they last a minimum of 2 hours. If it is the last session that I have, I don't like now, I don't just close because the 2 hours are over. If I have nothing else to do, I normally have pleasure sharing someone else's humanity
Mhm.
through this knowledge. So you can ask and answer a lot of things in 2 hours.
Mhm.
If the questions are clear, then the answers normally are clear, and there's room for everyone. Plus, there is, questions can be sent in a written format. Plus, there is a forum for the members of a group where they can leave a comment or a question there written in the forum. They don't have to wait until the next question and answer session. And even though I don't look by every day, I always pass by. And when there is a question, I answer. Now, even if it's not a question, it's just a comment. It's like I like to interact and I like to know how people are doing. Okay, so there is an engagement, but of course, I have to care for quality and not be a slave of quantity. Okay, so it's like I know that if you are ready to expose yourself and expose the questions that matter, I know that with my answers, I can touch you very, very deep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a lot of questions that you can ask. Then again, um, it's the website actually. I've already launched so many different websites and platforms and stuff, and it always was like, okay, when it's perfect, we launch it, and then basically I always sat and waited to see if people come. And in a way, I'm liking the fact that I'm launching this website way before it's ready. I mean, it is right now, it is just enough that you guys can actually sign up for the courses, because if I don't start them now, I would not be able to start it until the end of January. And I did not want to wait that long. But basically, I like the spirit of this website being work in progress, which means that
As we are.
exactly that, this is an ongoing work. And this is the place where everybody that connects to human design through me can actually contact me and receive, I'm there. Then again, I'm not a slave to this, but there is going to be regulated. And when the website is actually fully equipped, it should inform that, I would like the people who do the Living Your Design course, when they finish their 4 question and answer sessions, that it's not like it's over, because there will be more question and answer sessions in the next time that I do the Living Your Design XXL with new people. So I want to find a way where you can continue to participate in the question and answer sessions. I just need to find a way to regulate it so that, I give the priority each time to the people who are actually paying for that semester. Okay. But if I run out of questions, I will gladly take in questions from people who are from previous semesters, for instance, but also that there's so much to learn from other people's questions,
Yeah.
and from hear me answer a question that you also have, but in a way that it is tailored for someone that's not like you, that is a projector. And it's very enriching to see that no matter whose question I'm answering, I'm being rigorously loyal to the same mechanical structure at all times, to the fact that there is a mechanical absolute that just manifests differently in each one of us, but following the same mechanical rules. And because you don't take this all in 4 days, but you actually take it in over a stretch of 3 months, it goes slower, but it goes deeper. So I
The
know that
living,
the people, yeah,
oh, I apologize. The living XXL, how long does that course take, would you say?
it's about 3 months.
Also.
Yeah, because it is 4 question and answer sessions, I think, with an average distance of 2 weeks or 3 weeks between them. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, because I
So
needed to
it also
organize.
includes live Q&A with you every
Yes,
couple of. Okay, because I thought I asked that before and you said no, and I was like, oh, okay. So there is
yes,
some
yes,
live
yes, yes.
support.
No,
Okay, 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 okay.
I said yes. I was just explaining why when I started, I was doing 6 question and answer sessions, and I decided now to cut it down to 4.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
but there are question and answer sessions with me.
Okay,
And,
got it.
yeah, yeah.
Any live in-person trainings in the United States area? I'm from Florida, or mostly in Europe. I'm asking because I saw you just had a class in Italy, and that looked absolutely lovely.
I hate bureaucracy. And there is so much bureaucracy I have to make to come to the United States that I don't care for how much money I can make there. It's just such a turn off. And I would have to come illegal. And it's
Okay,
not,
well, we will come see you in Spain or Italy.
as an emotional manifester, the idea of standing in an US border does not seduce me at all, to be filtered. And it's like, no, keep your money, you know. Let me just move around where I don't have to show up papers. It's just okay. So
Got it.
it's not just the money. I know that there is many people in the States that love human design. And fortunately, there is also many people dedicated to transmit its value. I have been. I have been, and the next time, if I ever come back, it would have to be absolutely legal and arranged and with working visa and all of that. And I don't know if that will ever happen. So, yeah. You know what?
Thank you so much.
I'm planning to offer the course in Peru next
Oh,
year. Yeah.
fantastic.
Just like I offered one in Costa Rica some years back. Uh, I always wanted to go to Peru. So I
That's
figured,
much closer to us. Yes, it's beautiful. I
yeah,
was there
I
3 years ago.
figured it
Okay.
could be a
Yeah.
special event. Yeah, yeah. And it wouldn't be something basic. It would most probably be the mystical way. I mean, what else to teach in Peru? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that would be a nice experience. Let's see.
Thank you so much. I let somebody else ask a question. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm
Hey,
in
you're,
Peru right now. I am in Peru.
I'm coming there.
Oh my God, I love you. I've been following you since I started knowing about human design, and I feel so much um, love, and I'm so grateful for this knowledge.
Yes, I
Thank you so
understand.
much. Thank
My,
you, thank you, thank you. I
thank
would
you,
love to
Ursula.
take that. Thank you, Alok. And I cannot believe I'm talking to you. This is
Huh.
a dream come true.
Well, it's a real privilege to have met this knowledge. It's been a privilege for me to
Totally.
have met it 31 years ago. And what it did to my life is just amazing. It's just, I mean, not to my external life, which became stabilized. I became a father and my material life stabilized. No, my inner life that, when I click the button off here, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing now. Investigate the flow of consciousness. You know, it's to live in a state of being. And that not meaning, you're lobotomized and you don't have a mind. Mind is so beautiful when it is not in charge. It is
Mhm.
so beautiful to have a mind. See, we could not know the glory of being born if we didn't have this mind of ours to appreciate it.
Mm.
Because it is not, see, the mind does not exist alone. The mind is there to serve the spirit because the spirit has no other way to communicate its awareness to other human beings if it's not through mind. Well, it has non-verbal ways to do that, but that belongs more to the sphere of private life. But to
Mhm.
communicate with the average human being, the mind is the natural medium. And I used to have, my mind used to torment me. You have no idea. You have no idea the levels of torment that I lived under for the first 33 years of my life. And it's not like it gave up on it immediately. It didn't, you know. As a matter of fact, you know, based on circumstances, I can still experience a lot of mental, unpleasant, you know, when mental pressure basically is unpleasant, not because it creates anxiety, but a tension in my skull, in my brain. You know, if I'm tired or if I'm overworked or if normally it's that kind of thing. So it's a privilege, and to have people thank you and tell you that they love you for having done nothing but enjoy a privilege. It's just something that's amazing, guys. You understand why I am so vicious in doing this, because it's just so nice. You know, it's nice when you have something to say that other people value. You understand? Independently, I mean, value, and they're ready to pay for it. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing, you know? And that it is so special that you don't have to count how many people and how much they pay. You know, you just see that you got more than you need, and that's enough. Do not worry about money. Just enjoy doing this thing, you know, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, you know,
Yes.
to be myself through it. You know, it's definitely one of the best versions of Alok that I have known. So yeah, not gonna give it up soon. It looks like I'm not gonna give it up soon. No. Jace, please click your microphone.
So you mentioned in your talk, and thank you for it was beautiful and very informative, that you can find your purpose in your cross. So are you elaborating also about that in the XXL course? No?
No.
Okay.
No, if you want me to elaborate on that for you, the best would be to just get a session with me, get a reading, you know, and then we can look into the incarnation construct through your personal experience. And that should give you both the confirmation of what it is for you, plus an understanding of what it represents in anybody else. It's just they have a different cross, but the theme within their design would be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
There
you.
is, yeah, no, that's very advanced knowledge and very deep. And it doesn't really, you know, there is no point in understanding your cross theoretically, because it doesn't, your cross has to be
You have to live it.
exactly. You see, my cross, the purpose of my cross is expressed through my peace. You understand? With no peace, my cross would still be there, but I wouldn't be driven by a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
I would be
Anyway,
driven, I would be driven by the doubts and the confusion that are inherent to my cross. Okay. So the cross only comes alive consciously when the being operates in alignment with himself. Otherwise, the self itself, the cross itself becomes a distortion, and it becomes the cross that you carry. Okay.
I
In other
understand.
words, that consciousness is what blesses me now, but it used to be what condemns me the most. I was too self conscious or not self conscious enough. Oh, you understand? I was too self conscious and too inconsistent in my self consciousness. You understand? So I was kind of a self conscious joke, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy it. I did not know how to enjoy myself as a joke.
So I'm a mental projector, so you understand why I asked this question probably then also very well. So now in cases like me, with personalities like me, does it mean that I have to let it be? That's a very
No. If
okay.
you're a mental projector, you have to suck up every bit of information that you need to complete your mental puzzle.
Right.
You know, because the mind is there to see the puzzle and see how all the pieces fit together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I don't want to take more of the time of other people. So thank you. Very well. Welcome. Bye.
My pleasure. Valeria.
Hey, hi, Alok. Thanks for having us. That was a great session. First of all, I would like to thank you.
Come closer to the microphone or we don't hear you.
I would like to thank you. That was a great session, first of all. And yeah, thank you. And the other question will be, how relevant all this knowledge will be after 2027?
Oh, it will be more important than now.
Yeah.
You know, now we still seem to have time to foolishly play around with relativity. You know, we can postpone because we still rely on normality to be there tomorrow. But, you know, you are a very young person compared to Jace, who spoke just before you. So that, you know, your perception of the speed with which what used to be normal is disappearing is very different from his or mine, or, you know, it's going very, very fast. And when normality is no longer functional, then having something reliable within yourself becomes essential.
So it's going to be more relevant to me versus to other person, let's say.
According to Ra Uruhu, the messenger of the voice, this knowledge is here to prepare human beings for what's coming after 2027.
But after 27 is going to be the harder to know things, or you think it's going to be just different?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I wish you would know.
Not even Kamala Harris knows. Not even Trump.
Oh, that's
nobody knows. Nobody knows. The only thing everybody knows, like Leonard Cohen was singing in the song that I welcomed you, the first of you that came in. He was singing the song that everybody knows, that the dice are loaded. Everybody knows that we have no choice. And everybody knows that as a species, we're fucked.
Big time.
Yes, yes. You know, there is no, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for humanity as a whole. You know, I see us pretty much stuck in our useless smartness. You know?
It feels like everything goes down the hill.
Yeah. And, you know, see, when things were happening, like the things that are happening today, in the past, humanity used to revolt. Now nobody is revolting. Same lies as always are being told.
Like nobody cares. Yeah, like nobody cares. Yeah.
Half you could say nobody cares, but I think everybody cares, but nobody believes that whatever they do is going to make any difference.
True.
So it's not that nobody cares, it's that everybody knows it doesn't matter that you care. It doesn't matter that we all care. We don't have the power to stop it. And those who seem to have the power to do it, they don't know. They don't care. They don't care. They cannot care. They're too busy trying to remain on top, you know?
That's true.
Which is a whole game in itself.
Yeah. I can feel it with my heart, yeah. As the ego projected, like I can feel it.
See, it's easy for us, you know, to then go and blame the guys on top, like Kamala or Trump, or it's the program, it's the group. You know, I mean, Kamala and Trump and all, they're victims of group dynamics. They are. I mean, it's, you know, I don't envy, you know, the people that are responsible for everyone else. Mamma mia, I can hardly be responsible for myself. You know, you got to be crazy to do that kind of thing. So I watched the movie, and I mean, I'm not holding my breath because as a 1-3, I'm okay with pessimism. You know, I'm okay with accepting that if things don't get better, it's still nice the way it is now, you know? I don't need life to be ideal in order to enjoy it.
True.
But yeah, I mean,
You just need to be in peace, right? That's all you need.
You just need to be in alignment with yourself, because then it gets easier to not take personal what is not personal. You know, and do what you need to do with whatever is personal, because no one else can do it for you. And then you're still gonna get the best version of your presence in the world. You know, because the world was always there. We just never knew how to differentiate ourselves without separating ourselves from it. You know, which is what the mind does. It creates a separation. Signature restores that, and it allows your intelligence to flow alongside your awareness. You know, it does not create a separate movie. It creates a movie that differentiates you as a being. And then normality is still there. You know, because without normality, the world, the group could never be organized. Humanity could never be organized without norms, without rules, without laws. That's, you know, that's the foundation of the not self-awareness. Now we know. So why be stuck in it? You know? But yeah, I mean, it's most inspiring to consider the dilemmas that stand in front of humanity as a whole, and what we can individually do in being witnesses of what's going on and the way it's being handled. Yeah, I mean, you know, this could take into another lecture. So
true. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. If anybody has any practical question of the sort, like, you know, I would like to sign up and I don't know how, you can do that. You can write to office.yourownauthority.com, okay, for any support. Yeah, let's call it a day. I can smell the dinner coming from the kitchen. Thank you all. As always, it's been a quality time and I enjoyed sharing it with you. Bye for now to all of you. Enjoy your movie.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.